Hey everybody, waitingfornextyear.com podcast, low tech edition. Dave Sterling is here.
First time guest, finally on the podcast. Been really excited.
Dude, it's been a while since we've heard from you. Real life gets in the way of podcasting.
Turns out our fake Twitter fight the other day didn't really materialize. I was hoping it would, but
Well, I was at a kid's soccer game, and these things happen. So what's been going on, Dave? Why haven't we heard you on the podcast recently?
Well, if you follow me on Instagram or Twitter, you'll see the flood of pictures. I have a beautiful 1-month-old baby named Eve. She takes up a lot of our time these days.
Yeah.
It turns out.
So the Browns Friday fumble
has been turned into a non-audio production. A little bit inside baseball. I have not written it for today's release yet. That's going to happen probably this afternoon. And much like last year, it turns out a Browns game comes up pretty regularly. So,
almost too quickly?
Almost too quickly. And that's even without the Thursday night games. So, yeah. But anyway, expect good things out of that. Sure.
Are we going to get a couple of Browns Friday Fumble podcasts this season?
I am hoping so, as things kind of stabilize baby wise. I'm hoping to get at least a few out there. I know we have several guests that are anxious to come back, so.
Well, the baby provides a 3-hour window.
Exactly. Which doesn't really work with our writing style of taking pretty much regardless of the time Dylan and Yazin would show up at my house, we would finish up about midnight, regardless of when we started. So if we start at 9 o'clock, we'll have that 3-hour window just perfectly.
So you're saying you, Dylan, and Yaz don't have the discipline?
Correct.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, exactly.
Shocking. All right, so we're actually not going to talk about the Browns. I mean, we could try and give you another Ravens.
We'll save that for Victory Monday.
Yeah. The Ravens, I almost called it a recap, but the preview. But, I mean, pretty much everybody said everything that you could possibly say about Deshaun Kaiser and the Ravens defense and all that.
Yeah, all you need to see from the Browns right now is just more.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, I didn't have too many complaints, and I just want to now see that over the span of several games, and let's see what happens.
So instead, we're going to do Chris Farley impressions and talk about how awesome the Indians are. Wasn't that cool?
That was the best. No, I'll tell you, one of the joys, I don't know if I talk about it much on the podcast. I'm a cord cutter. We stopped paying for cable or satellite. We didn't have any TV. We rely on Netflix, Amazon, and services like that. The downfall to that being sports. So recently I found a service that gives you Fox Sports Ohio and Sports Time Ohio. So I've recently been able to watch the Indians in the evening, and it turns out watching a baseball game is the perfect way to also take care of an infant, to give, your wife a few minutes of sanity. So that's what we do. Me and Eve, we sit down, we watch the game, she sleeps, and I watch an Indians game, and it's perfect.
And you try not to lose your mind when the Indians tie it up on a Francisco Lindor double and then win it on a walk-off, whatever that was.
She was helping me cope in the 9th inning with the streak coming to an end. We were talking about it, and she helped me cope with, well, you know what? It feels like a playoff game, but it isn't. We literally have another game tomorrow. In the grand scheme of things, this game is meaningless, and it'd be good to get the streak off of our backs so we could just start playing normal baseball again. And then,
if the streak ends, they could start resting guys.
Yeah.
It's been a good run, and we've enjoyed it, but it was going to have to come to an end
And the other one has a tie in it, and, was the game really even the same 100 years ago?
But now it continues. We get to be super duper greedy about it, and the Indians roll along. It's Friday night. They go for 23.
Yes.
And it just the 22. It felt like the first time they ever really had to work for it.
Yes, exactly. The 3-2 against is it the Orioles still?
Yeah, I don't remember.
They're all watching together. But the recent 3-2 day game.
Yeah.
Or was that the...
But the point is...
I don't even remember. I'm a terrible sports podcaster.
No, but the point is that it has not felt largely during the streak like they've struggled to maintain the win.
Oh, no. As
streak.
Exciting as it was last night, I preferred the jump out to a 6-run lead in the second kind of thing.
Yeah, how many times have we seen the Indians not only score first, but do so with a really big crooked number?
Right. I'm like, what is this? What? Yeah, it's... when. Again, I tweeted this last night, but Francona has got some serious testicles. That you've got this streak on the line, 9th inning. Yeah, let me put my 21-year-old just up from Double-A catcher Mejia in. Let me, I'll stick with some rookies here, and he manages just the way he wants to manage. He doesn't feel pressure. It's pretty amazing.
It is. It has been. But at the same time, like, you wouldn't want him to go all out and grind down the bats into sawdust.
Oh, absolutely. But think about what kind of experience that is for those guys. He said it last night after the game. That was a playoff game. We treated it like a playoff game, and now all those guys who are 21 have real-world playoff experience of a game that we need to make something happen, and they did. And I know several of our Indians young guys have playoff experience from last year, but...
Well, and that's part of the reason why I don't entertain those arguments about, well, are the Indians peaking too soon and what are... And so first of all, what's the alternative? And second of all, it's not like Terry Francona has had Miller available and has been using him like 2 innings a night and overworking the bullpen and doing crazy things.
No, this has been an organic thing. He hasn't had to play any magic bullets, trump cards, anything like that.
It's not like he's throwing Kluber out there on short rest to keep it going.
Or it's like, oh well, I'll bring in Kluber to pitch 2 innings of relief to get the streak going. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
The really amazing thing. We've got wins by Clevenger and
Tomlin,
and
not last night, but
But the idea is that they're or wins when those guys are pitching. They're not doing anything crazy or special. They're just playing the way they normally would. I don't know if anybody out there feels like the Indians are playing differently or strategically playing differently than they normally would. And Mejia is an example of that, and the rotation's an example of that. The bullpen's an example of that. It just doesn't feel like they're overextending, and they're having so much fun.
Oh, man, it's ridiculous. And how'd you like to be Jay Bruce and coming out of the Mets, which, all you can do is kind of chuckle at it. And then, what have they lost, 5 games since he's been here?
It's crazy.
And just even last night, to get your own redemption story in the same game. Like, he cost a run, and then he had a bases loaded, 1 out, and he pops up. And, to then be able to come back and redeem yourself instantly and not have to live with that for 24 hours that you didn't execute when you needed to. And
the dual superstar stories developing with Francisco Lindor and Jose Ramirez just coming into vaulting their names even further into the lights.
Well, I'm very interested to see, and I don't know how it is from a national perspective. You always wonder with Cleveland athletes, are they a Michael Stanley type famous or are they a LeBron James type famous? So, is it Ricky Davis, where everybody in Cleveland knows who he is and nobody does? But I think Lindor and Ramirez...
Frankie is definitely a higher plane in terms of his popularity, and before it's all said and done, Jose Ramirez might end up being Manny Ramirez. I mean, because I felt like Manny Ramirez was kind of Cleveland-centric as a superstar until the last year and a half that he was in Cleveland, and then, of course, going to Boston vaulted him even higher.
Correct.
But I think Jose Ramirez can achieve that kind of fame right here in Cleveland. And he's got the ability to actually be that player. He's got the ability to be even more electric than Francisco Lindor which is shocking to say because Frankie's the one who everybody knew about for the longest time, and Jose kind of vaulted on the scene a little bit.
The tweet that I saw last night that I will read from Jeff Passan. Jose Ramirez was a non-prospect, then he was a utility man, then he was an everyday player, now he's an MVP candidate. To just come from that, so many players in the lower levels of teams' farm systems are just there so the good players have somebody to play against.
Yep.
And to kind of go against those odds to be where he is right now is just an amazing story.
Well, and the belief that he has in himself has always outmatched the belief that anybody else had in him.
Right.
And I know that's kind of, you want to say that about every player.
But that was exemplified in his turning that single into a double last night.
Yep.
He thought, I can get there.
Which,
and you bastards aren't going to push me off the bag this time.
Which was crazy. Because,
it was ridiculous.
I mean, you dare him to make the throw, you really put the pressure on the defense, and then it actually worked out. I was in disbelief.
Yes.
I was just in disbelief.
One of those things that if he doesn't pull it off, you go, what the hell was he doing?
Yeah. And that's where the magic of this team really brings us back. It's probably surpassing the teams from the 90s, but it doesn't matter. We don't have to rank them.
Right.
It's the same kind of magic, and it's back. I mean, the comebacks that those teams from the 90s had, the softball scores they put up, there was no lead that was safe with them hitting. And so to have this team that isn't exactly the same, but between the dominant pitching and the ability to score on any given night 10, 12 runs, it's kind of the same. It's the same magic, and this streak is just unbelievable.
Well, and remember when we were talking about our August slump? Mm-hmm. When the injuries were mounting and we couldn't win a game and the pitching had fallen apart and Kluber was hurt and Miller was hurt and everything was terrible. And
Miller, Brantley, and Kipnis are still out of the line, out of the rotation in the lineup.
It's one of the deepest teams that I've ever seen. Like you look just the normal everyday lineup before, and I'll say it's before the September call-ups, but the normal everyday lineup, there's just no weak spot in the lineup.
Yeah, even the battery of Gomes and Perez have come around and are contributing in a pretty major way.
Yeah.
On offense and certainly on defense. Those guys never have trouble contributing on defense. And
that becomes huge, especially with Mejia, to get him experience like this and I'm not going to try to put the cart too far for the horse, but when you play a National League team in the World Series, to have 3 catchers with not a ton of drop-off behind the plate or at the plate is going to be huge for us.
Yeah. All right, well, I think we did better than going, that was awesome.
Remember when he got that hit? That was great.
So, you remember when Frankie hit the double and he came around and he tied the score at 2 in the 9th inning to send it into extra innings with a 21 win streak on the line, trying to extend it to 22. You remember?
I do. It was awesome.
It was awesome.
I have one more thing to say, and this is for the hot take people, and this is because I am all about Cleveland sports unity.
You're bringing everybody together, Dave.
I am.
Okay.
I want everybody to know that if the Browns won all of their games every year, it would still take them a year and a half to win 22 games. So your stupid statistics about, well, the Indians won 22 games in 22 days. It took the Browns 4 years. That's because they play a wildly different number of games. So, yes, the Browns are terrible and the Indians are great, but this is not how we compare things. Okay, that's the end of Dave's unity rant for today.
Well, and it's like, do we really need to spend additional time talking about how bad the Browns are in relation to the Indians?
Well, and that's where, even after Sunday, like, all the Browns fans are kind of like, all right, pretty good showing for the Browns. And then the Indians fans that are mad about the Browns some reason go out and and like, no, we're not even mad about it. We're fine.
Yeah.
We're watching the Indians just like you are.
Well, and we play in a community where it's analytics and deep dives and stats, and now we're going to compare winning streaks in baseball to
Right.
futility in football. That's fine. It's fine. Yeah, we all know the Browns have been bad.
The Cavs haven't won a game in like 3 months. Put that in perspective for you.
Oh, man.
Since June, Craig.
Yeah.
Cavs haven't won a game since June. Just saying.
I was trying to think of something to say about the Browns and their number of wins in June, but
Yeah, exactly.
alas. So anyway, it was good to have your voice back on the podcast. Happy to spend some time talking, and hopefully in between baby feedings we can get some additional time from you.
I'm hoping so.
You can always log in via Skype. It doesn't have to be a Browns Friday Fumble. We gotta keep it going. Maybe we'll just have a special interview with a certain sports writer who might be old.
Well,
we know Pal Allen wants to come back.
Pal Allen also has a lot on his plate right now. He's raising his grandkids, but we'll see if he can find some time.
All right. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the tribe. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. It's been the waitingfornextyear.com podcast.